Hello, welcome to Truth Talk. My name is Melanie Keenan, and tonight we're going to begin talking about the COVID-19, the financial, physical, mental, and spiritual health of America. But first, my co-host Markus, Floyd, and myself would like to send our deepest condolences and our love and prayers to our friend and panelist, Brandy Hunt. This evening, she called me to let us know that she could not join us, for her father did indeed pass away from COVID-19 complications. So, Brandy, if you're there listening, we are praying for you, and we love you. And to all those that are listening that lost a loved one or is experiencing this COVID-19 in devastating ways, this show is dedicated to you. Joining us today, we have our regular panelists. We have first our co-host, Markus. Markus, tell us please a little bit about how you have been impacted by COVID-19.
Well, back in March, it was like a 3-week span, and my wife, it was on a Sunday morning, we both went to a urgent care, immediate care. We went there, we got tested, wasn't feeling well. I didn't have the flu. They didn't test me for COVID. My wife, she went in first actually, and they tested her. Things were good. They said upper respiratory infection. So in the midst of that day, then like for that week, she ended up still wasn't feeling any better. So it went from upper respiratory infection to the flu to pneumonia in both lungs to COVID-19. And with my wife being admitted in the hospital, 2 different hospitals with the span from 5 days. So I mean, I can speak more as we get into the meeting, but yeah, I've been impacted on a personal level because I had symptoms as well, but I wasn't tested. But I do believe I had it.
Thank you, Markus. And we are glad that now your wife is recovering and back home and doing better. Our next panelist, welcome back, Bill Coffman. He's a regular with us on the show. So, Bill, any experience with you, how this has affected you?
Nothing personal to me, like my health. I am on the front lines all the time. I haven't had a day off. I get 1 day off a week through this whole time. But I myself haven't. However, got about a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half co-workers that have had it. All have recovered so far. Only one with any complications. He's lost his taste still. He doesn't have that back, and he's been through it for a few months or 2 months now, and he doesn't have his taste back. Everybody else, they don't seem to have any residuals. But every one of these guys are relatively young. They're in their 20s up to 40s, and they've recovered pretty well. So I haven't had any. I don't know anyone who's died from it yet, except for Brandy's grandfather, which I don't know him, but I know Brandy, and my heart breaks for her.
Thank you, Bill. Jacqueline Keenan joins us again today as well. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Would you like to share anything with us today, just to introduce what makes you want to be part of this conversation?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the middle between, just a regular citizen and then somebody who works in healthcare. I'm kind of like smack dab in the middle, which I think is kind of an interesting perspective. Working as a medical assistant and just, the normal doctor's office type of scenario. It's a little bit different because of the protective equipment issues that we have personally. And then just knowing people, personal friends who have had COVID and do have COVID too. So I bring a pretty interesting perspective, in my opinion.
All right. And for the first time, I would like to introduce to everyone David Buckland. He is a dear friend of mine, but he also is someone who's been in the medical facilities during this COVID and all the restrictions, trying to care for loved ones, trying to care for himself. and other people that he knows in his community. Welcome, David Buckland.
Hi, how you doing? You know, I'm being 66, I'm considered ground zero. I deal with a lung and supposedly sorry, got tongue-tied. I've been dealing with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis for about 12 years, but it wasn't diagnosed until 3 years ago. And at the time it was diagnosed, I was told I was going to die immediately. Well, obviously that was wrong. And so my perspective on this last 5 months is that I'm really seeing a lot of social effects. People are horrified when I don't wear a mask. I get all kinds of opinions about it. And interestingly enough, before COVID hit, I used to wear a mask because I was worried about colds and flu. Then I took a spiritual approach, and that being that, God wants me to live my life fully, using common sense, which we talked about earlier. And you mentioned the medical facilities. Now, my wife is interacting with doctors 5-6 times a week she's having a lot of challenges. 3 or 4 of those are over the phone, but 1 to 3 times a week, we have to go to a hospital or an office this whole 5 months. And it's so frustrating. I live in the high desert. It's been 108 and I can't come in the building. And they say, oh, we'll just go home. And I look at them and I say, you know what? I live 20 miles away and I don't want to, no, this is not going to happen. So I go find a shade tree and I sit in the car with my air conditioning on. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 3 hours. But this is so much worse than what happened with HIPAA, because with HIPAA, at least they could talk to you. They could explain to you, well, this is none of your business. I'm like, oh yeah, right. She's my wife for 45 years, but it's none of my business. I'm sorry, but that's the law. And I'm like, well, okay, I get it. But then she's had 2 major surgeries in the last few months. And they just stop me at the door and they say, you can't come in. I'm like, well, can you meet me halfway? No, we'll let you know. Well, how long? Could be 4 hours, could be 8. And what are you supposed to do? You can't go to a coffee shop because they're closed. You can't go to a park because they're closed. All you can do is go home or sit in your car. Yeah. And so it's been very, very frustrating. And had my wife not had her phone with her, I wouldn't have even known when she got out of surgery or how she was doing. They didn't call me once.
And I do look forward to having your take and more lengthy discussion as we go into some of these topics, whether we have medical facilities versus phone calls, having someone near, the mental stress it takes on a patient and the family to be separated at times like that. But first, I do want to also welcome Sandra, and please forgive me if I do not say your last name. I know we practice this. Sandra Pokikio.
Correct.
Oh, great. Sandra joins us today. She is an ICU crisis release nurse. Sandra will start Monday going into another COVID-19 unit where she will be the frontline nursing to take care of the loved ones that we do have to leave at the door. So I love the fact, Sandra, please introduce yourself and anything you want to share.
Well, I've been an ICU nurse for 18 years, and I have been taking care of COVID patients up to this point, not been really critically ill yet, but I will be starting that on Monday. Back to what David was saying is that COVID doesn't mean that we lose our humanity. And I think that's what unfortunately, what he has found with his wife is that he's encountered people in the healthcare system who have lost their humanity. There are so many things people can do to still have that aspect. And, this person, whoever you encounter, could have said, can I take your number? Can I call you? Just different things. And it doesn't have to be something big. It's something small, like, that's how I try to practice, and that's how I try to treat people. Because that's the way I would want to be treated. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, and I wouldn't want to be in your wife's shoes. That's scary for her.
Well, thank you. And when we come back from break, I do want to touch on that, the humanity part of COVID and some of the experiences, because you're right. We don't have to lose our humanity because of COVID, because of fear. And I would love today just to dispel some of that and put some more hope. And here in California, our hospital says human kindness. That's one of the slogans. And we need to put that human kindness back in to caring for one another. When we come back from break. Thank you.
We are now reaching our second-year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that
and they just took him and didn't take any information from her whatsoever. He was unexpected.
Such a feeling coming in. There is wonder in most everything I see. Not a cloud in the sky, but the sun in my eyes, and I won't be.
We are now reaching our second-year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social media shows network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details.
Are you ready to hear about the most amazing competition coming your way? It's the Gifts of Talent virtual competition where you can dance, sing, act, do comedy, all in the comfort of your own home. And a portion of the proceeds goes to feeding the youth. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. Have fun!
To enter, go to whalerscreation.us, or, for more details, go to socialmediashows.com.
Welcome back to Truth Talk. Today we're talking about COVID-19. And this first episode, we're really getting a handle on our experiences to share with you, to let you know that you're not alone in your journey through COVID-19, the restrictions, the health concerns, the changes that we have in society. But this first show, we really want to talk about dispelling the fear, letting us know that there are things that we can do to be proactive. There are things that we can do to make sure that we are our best society in helping one another, in dispelling the fear, and also having rights that we can be proactive. And we do have a right to speak up and to participate in the changes. I want to talk more to the panel. We shared how we are high risk, some of us high risk for health concerns. Some of us have coworkers that we saw overcome it. Some of us have had family members. But how do we handle the situations? We talked about the medical facilities. That's one that's close to my heart, as I've seen friends and family members treated differently at different facilities, different hospitals, and in different states. If you're in a high-risk state like New York, California, Florida, you might have different experiences than if you're in a low-risk state. Even then, you have new rules and regulations. How do we not lose humanity? I myself have lost numerous members of my family due to COVID-19. It was early in, and I was not allowed to discuss or have the right to go see my family members, to say goodbye to them, or even to bury them. I know things have changed now. There's a new system. People are able to have small burials. They're able to go visit their family members one at a time in some situations to say goodbye. But that breaks down the core of who we are as a society. When we can no longer sit with our loved ones, when we can no longer say goodbye to our loved ones, when we don't know what's happening. Even personally, if you have a medical appointment and it's over the telephone, or if over a Zoom with your doctor, does that break down your relationship with your medical professional, or does it enhance it? Panel, I'm going to throw it to you. Tell me what you think about all of the changes in our society. Is it helpful or hurtful?
I mean, I can't speak from a nursing perspective. Nurses have a lot of leeway, and even though we have rules, the rules that are just at least where I work. I can only speak for the place I work. Like if we have a patient who's confused, a family member is allowed to stay in and help them because it's helpful for that confused patient to stay there. But I also think it has to do with us. I think when we talk about humanity, we have to first start with us. And even though we are in pain and we're struggling because we have our loved one who is sick and you're worried about them, we have to stay focused on what we can control. Because if I, as a family member, somebody tells me, no, I'm sorry, you can't come in because of X, Y, and Z, it's the policy or that. And if I start going off on this person, that all this person did was give me that message, a rule that this person didn't come up with, and I get angry, instead of controlling myself, taking a deep breath before I answer, I can assure you that if we think about our actions instead of reactions first, we're gonna get a lot more accomplished. You can say, oh, I understand that, but you can negotiate with people. We're all human, and that's what I'm trying to get at. That if I try to play the nice person instead of getting angry because of the message I just received, if I just try to be the nice person, I can assure you that I get a lot more done.
I agree with that. My daughter had surgery, and they told me up front, you can't go in, you have to stay in your car or go home. But she was at high risk. And so going in ahead of time with a plan, a conversation already planned out, your documentation. So I went in and I just said, I understand that and I agree. However, this is my daughter's situation. This is why I believe I need to be there when she wakes up, because of this situation. It's happened in the past, and explained it all. And I was prepared. And I said, if there's anything you can do, just let me stay in the hallway rather than leave the premises. And, when you talk to them, and don't blame the person, because you're right, they're just giving orders. They're doing what they're told to better keep the environment safe as well. And so if you communicate in a educated, nice way with respect, they do work with you. And, this was at Cedar Sinai here in California, and they did accommodate me. They gave me a private space to go and stay and wait for her before and after, so that I was with her the whole time. And but make sure it's valid. Don't just make things up to get your way. Make sure it's a valid concern. If your loved one's okay without you, it is safer to go right now and not be inside the hospital or inside the medical facility.
Exactly.
But go with your case already ready to present with respect and communication. Go ahead, Bill.
You said something I think is really important. Well, both of you did actually. People are just people, and every individual is different. Every nurse is different. Every doctor is different. When we were talking about law enforcement stuff, I'm a cop. Every cop's different. There's no autonomons out here. Just because they're wearing the same type of uniform or scrubs does not mean everybody thinks exactly the same way. And you need to talk to people as individuals, not as this group. These people all think this way. All nurses are this way. They're not, because they're just people. No, all people are anyway. And so you'll get more from people if you'll figure out their conversational, what they understand. And then you try and talk at that level. And I don't mean talk down like you said earlier, not talking down to anybody, just at the same, get so that communication works. They're hearing you because you're talking the way they understand. And you might just be amazed at all the extra things you got, like you just did, as opposed to maybe just saying, well, you're stupid and these are your rules and your rules are stupid and I'm not going to listen to them. That's not going to get you anywhere. And so I think this is really important. And the scripture says, and I keep bringing everything back to the Bible because I think it's the answer to our life. A soft answer turns away wrath. And I'm telling you, you talk nice to people, you shock them. They don't even know what to do with you sometimes. They have no idea. And so I just think that that's always the better way to handle things.
Deliverance of the message. I've always said deliverance of the message. It's all about that.
And Brandy is listening, and she messaged him. Thank you, Brandy. She said, people need to remember to lead with love and not fear. So how can we not be in fear? David, you mentioned that you don't, I'm really not sure what you said about it, but that you don't care to wear a mask, or you don't wear masks. If people see you walk, and you said people get upset with you when they see you not wearing a mask, that's a level of fear. If someone sees someone walking without a mask, that fear automatically comes in. Oh my gosh, that person. And then you might get approached in a negative way. But how do we dismantle the fear in our community? Besides the fact that, we wear a mask for other people as well as for ourselves, to dismantle the fear that they might have, the concern they might have being around me, I wear a mask. So how do we dismantle the fear in our community?
Well,
Are you asking? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, David.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say really quick, I am actually one of the people that, I'm not 100% convinced wearing a mask is going to save anybody, but I wear it all the time because I don't have any desire to cause other people to feel completely uncomfortable around me. And I'm not certain convinced on the science of this. However, I don't know what I'm talking about, so I never know what I'm talking about. But the reality is I'm not completely convinced. I don't care that I'm not completely convinced. When I go to the store or whatever, I wear the mask. Not because I honestly am convinced it's going to keep me safe or anything, but that person next to me might think it will. And I have no desire to cause them anxiety. Just
Perfectly said. That you said it perfectly. And I tell people, there are people who are terrified of spiders, and in this case, the spider is the virus. If I go to somebody who's terrified of spiders and I wiggle that spider in their face, it's not going to make them less scared of that spider. They're going to be so angry with me.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the virus and the mask. People believe that the mask, I personally believe the masks do help based on the science and based on what our practices are. So I do believe, but everybody has to be compliant. But on the other hand, I'm not going to shame anybody who doesn't. I'm not going to call them names. I'm not going to do that. I am going to, try to reason with them and appeal to their sense of humanity.
Right. And I want to say this really clearly to any listeners. She's a medical professional. I'm a soldier and a cop. Listen to her.
All right. On that note, we must take another break.
I don't want anybody thinking I think more than that than a medical professional, because I do not.
All right. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you ready to hear about the most amazing competition coming your way? It's the Gifts of Talent virtual competition where you can dance, sing, act, do comedy, all in the comfort of your own home. And a portion of the proceeds goes to feeding the youth. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. Have fun!
To enter, go to whalerscreation.us, or, for more details, go to socialmediashows.com and hishopnation.com. Or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to get updates, and to vote for your favorite talent.
We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social media shows network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our 2nd year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters.
Welcome back to Truth Talk. During the commercial break, we've been talking about the masks, when to wear them, when not to wear them. Do they help? What are we really saying when we wear one or don't wear one? I know our comments online have been asking these kind of questions. The inconsistencies of our community, of our society. America alone is separated. Every state, every city in a state has different rules, and every community either obeys it or does not obey it. So let's talk about masks for the next segment. Jacqueline, I know you travel with your job as a medical assistant. How do you see the mask work or not work?
Yeah, for me, I wear masks all the time. If I'm outside, unless I'm in my car, I have a mask on. It's just something that, you know, I've seen studies prove to how effective they are, and I just choose to wear them. But for me, I go to different medical facilities for my job every single day. So I do see a lot of different examples of medical facilities that aren't really taking it as serious, either because they're comfortable working with each other and being in that environment, so they don't really feel like they need to wear masks. You know, I'll go to a facility like today. I was the only one who was wearing a mask in the facility that I work today. Although they, you know, seeing patients and everything like that. So it's pretty interesting to me as somebody who relies on like studies and actual scientific proof to tell me like, okay, this is safe for you, this is effective against COVID, for me to know that there is great, viable information. Also, because it's kind of like a law now in California, it's pretty interesting to see people kind of just ignore that based on they're comfortable in their work environment and they're comfortable with the people that they work with, where they don't think that, is kind of an issue, whether or not they have, other people in that same work environment that they don't work with on a daily basis.
It kind of puzzles me. I'm silent because I'm thinking medical offices that don't wear masks when people are coming in for medical reasons. I know my experience in most offices, medical offices I've been in recently, you get your temperature taken as soon as you walk in. Some of them give you a new mask. They make you sanitize your hands before you even walk into the waiting room. That's what I'm used to in most of my offices. I do have one doctor's office where they don't do anything, but they assure that you wear a mask. So it does differ. But what is the harm in wearing a mask? Let me ask you that. If there's a chance that wearing a mask actually does prevent illness from spreading, like David said, he was wearing a mask before COVID for the cold and flus. So obviously there's something there that says, hey, just in case it helps. If it also helps the people next to you, like Bill said, to have a peace of mind that they're not being forced in a situation to be contagious by going to a grocery store because you wear a mask. What's the harm in wearing a mask? Just to make sure everybody's consistent and maybe we're doing some good.
Well, there are studies that do show the good in wearing masks, especially for COVID. There are studies that, they've had people with COVID cough with different types of masks on to see, okay, is this allowing particles to go through more or a little bit less? So there really is proof that it does work and it does help. Not 100%, but that extra few percentage or 50% really does make a big difference, if everybody is wearing a mask. But there's not really, people have studied, does wearing a mask cause you to pass out, lose oxygen? Healthcare workers wear masks 12 hours a day, even before COVID. So if masks were really that dangerous for, just the normal population, you wouldn't have healthcare workers wearing masks that long, right? But if you have respiratory illnesses and such like that, yeah, there will be instances where, if wearing a mask might prevent you from being able to breathe as well. But I think those are more individual cases, not a whole population.
And I think, Sandra, during the commercial break, you had mentioned that you've been wearing, the 95 mask for a long time in your career. And, share what you had mentioned before.
Well, talk about not only, you feel like you're just like breathing your own air, but the stress. I was one time with a patient. I ended up spending about 3 hours in that room with that patient. I mean, with the full gear on. When I came out, I had the straps just on my skin. And it took me a good couple of hours for my skin to bounce back. It is, I'm not saying that they're comfortable. For so many people, especially people who have anxiety, that can be, who have, issues like, claustrophobic, that can be an issue for them. And I feel for them. I do. And I understand that. And I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, like, David, that, he might just not be able to wear one. If the majority of us are wearing ours, and then you have people like David, you have a few people who can't, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I said, it comes down to that humanity. You have to understand that maybe some people are not wearing it not because they're evil and they want to give COVID to everyone, but you know what? Just give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just can't. Maybe they have terrible anxiety about it. So instead of just assuming that they are, being rebels and not want to wear the mask, and they're just being jerks. That's what I think.
Yeah, I like that point, because it is, sometimes it is a matter of, being comfortable, having anxiety, not being able to breathe. Like David mentioned, he has lung disease. It might not be easy to breathe. I know I have a partial lung, deflated lung. And so, I'm not comfortable in a mask more than like 20 minutes. I need some air. I have to take some deep breaths after about 20 minutes, but that's me. That's personal to me. The more I wear it, the more I get used to it. But that's personal to me, but I will wear it. But I think you're right, not vilifying the ones that don't wear a mask.
That's right.
Go
That's
ahead.
a very dangerous thing we're doing in our whole society right now, is we're vilifying everyone who doesn't think like us.
Amen.
And by
Yeah.
us, I mean, I don't care who us is. It doesn't matter. It's like, I keep bringing up that old song. There's a lot of people in the streets mostly saying, hooray for our side, hooray for our side. That's a dangerous position to take, man. Listen to other people. Maybe there is a good reason. Listen to people. And I will say this, I've got to go teach my class soon, but I wanted to say, when you wore it, it got lines on your face. I don't get that, but if you look, I got big ears. I always did. Even as a little kid, they called me Spock, when I was a little boy. And because Star Trek was out, and they go, hey, Spock. And when I wear that thing, man, those ears go out like that. And I've had people laugh at me. They're going, look at your ears, which I think they must look really funny. So I just laugh. But I just think that, I'm like, man, I hope whenever I take these off, my ears at least go back to the side of my head again.
When we come back, I want to ask Markus and about this and get more take on it. But, Mark sent a message in, and he's listening, and he said, that the mask requirement is watered down, not taken serious, because those who are mandating it in the government, the experts, well, we see them and they're not even wearing masks. So how is it that, here in the, ground level, we're all, mandate masks, but then we see the experts and the ones mandating the laws not complying themselves? Does that make a difference in believing that it's necessary? I think it does. What do you think, Markus?
Well, in that case, it make you feel like, is it real? Because the ones, like you said, the ones that's mandating it, the ones that's saying that we have to wear masks, but you don't see them wear masks. It's like, it's contradictory. Like, why should we wear them if those that telling us to wear them are not wearing them? So it's like, that's why a lot of people think that it's not real. And the only reason I feel that they don't believe that it's real is because they haven't been affected by it, whether it's personally or through a loved one or a friend or someone they may work with. They may not be able to, they haven't felt the effects of COVID. But those of us that have, we know it's real, and we know we want to do what's right to prevent it from spreading or coming to us again, to our loved ones or anyone for that matter. So it's like, is it real or not? And it's just, to me, I feel like from the outside looking in, like if I wasn't affected by it, or if I haven't known a loved one that was affected by it, I'd be like, why wear a mask if you the one saying not wearing one, so why should we wear one? That's if I haven't been affected by it. I would feel like those that think that it's a hoax, I would feel like them too. It's just like, it's like a toss up to me.
Yeah. I do understand that, because I have thoughts like that too. Early on, it's like, why aren't they wearing a mask? But we don't know the setup on the other side of the camera. We don't really know what's going on with the people that's not wearing a mask in front of a camera on a news show or whatever. So there we are, just judging and saying they're not doing it, but we don't know what precautions they took before they do it. And we got to go to break, but I'll share this short story. There's a show getting ready to film, and it has an audience, a live audience. And when my daughter told me that, I thought, how are they going to do that? Well, the caution is this: they're taking everybody's temperature, they're getting COVID tested, rapid COVID test. Everyone's getting put up in a hotel the night before. They're gonna get tested again. So you have a 24-hour quarantine for everybody in there getting COVID tested before they become a live audience. The extra measures. But if we just look at the show and think, why is everybody in the audience without a mask? We'd be horrified. So I think we do have to step back a little bit and again, not vilify what we see if we don't fully understand anything about what we're looking at, you know? So not judging them, but we got to take a break.
Discussing with each other, you'll learn more information. That's all. Instead of yelling at each other, discuss.
And that's what we hope to do here, is communicate, discuss it, get some more information that people might not know.
Right.
Phil, thank you for joining us. I know you have to go once we go to commercial break, but have a great show tonight. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
All right, and commercial break.
We are now reaching our 2nd year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social media shows network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our 2nd year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. and joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social media shows network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our 2nd-year anniversary. We are now reaching our 2nd-year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows.
Welcome back to Truth Talk. We're talking today about COVID-19 and just dispelling or sharing our experiences of how it's affected us personally, but also talking a lot about masks. Does it help wearing it, not wearing it? And I believe the general consensus of this panel is that it is best to wear it because it does no harm not to wear it, to be on the side of caution, to respect those that you encounter that might be fearful of encountering you without a mask. So you wear one just to respect those that you're going to come in contact with. And as Jacqueline said, it is the law in some states and cities. So we must, adhere to that as well. But David has a unique perspective he wants to talk about regarding fear. We want to talk about having common sense to dispel the fear. David?
Okay. Hi. I for my own reasons, I try not to wear a mask any more than I absolutely have to. Here in New Mexico, we have a volatile political situation. We've got city mayors implementing laws above and beyond the governor. So in my city, it's a $500 fine not to wear a mask. Now, the police have made it clear that they're not interested in enforcing that, but how could you possibly know? So combined with an attempt to respect others, and trying to avoid the fines, I do take a mask with me in anytime I go in a store. I have the luxury, if I choose, to use a small bottle of oxygen. It's a lot of work, and I don't always like to do that. But here's what's just mind-boggling to me is I've been attacked 3 times in my community for not wearing a mask. Every time I was outside, every time the person was at least 20 feet away from me. And they came up to me as if I was endangering them. In fact, 2 of them said that I was endangering them. And I just looked at them and said, well, you're going to have to forgive me if I don't understand you, because we're outside, the wind's blowing, it's blowing between us, not at one or the other of us. I'm going perpendicular to you. I'm nowhere near you. I'm not coughing. Why do you feel endangered by me not wearing a mask? And actually, if you look around, there's 3 or 4 other people the same way. How did you choose me? And their answers never really made a lot of sense, to be quite honest with you. So fear you can do everything you can to assuage a reasonable level of fear, but you can't control an individual's fear. You can't determine it. And as I started to say on the break, I was sitting, I'm standing on a street corner on a wide boulevard, early in the morning, hardly anybody around, and I was talking with a friend, and this lady was coming up the sidewalk with her two little dogs, and I thought she would be passing us any time, and we were deep in conversation. Suddenly realized that this woman, and she had on a face shield, okay, and a big old brim hat, and a mask, and she took her dogs over to the island and got in the way of traffic because there was people going to work. She went completely like 40 feet around us, and she was going around the corner that we were standing on. So she basically crossed the street 4 times in order to avoid. She didn't want to get anywhere near us because we weren't wearing masks. So what can you say? What can you do? You know, and I just I wish I could respectfully wear a mask all the time for the sake of others' feelings. I totally understand that point of view, and yet, as we've already said, for me, it's hard to breathe. And as we've also said, it's hard, in spite of the fact that, yes, I know people who have died from it. Yes, I do know it's very dangerous. I just question how transferable it really is. That's I guess where I struggle.
And we're going to talk a lot more in the next week or two. We're going to continue this conversation, especially, you know, as someone just wrote in and said, you know, they want to know if the panelists questions the face covering because you can wear any material. It's not like they're saying wear this works. I can take a t-shirt. Some people are taking socks. Some people are taking underwear. Some people are taking handkerchiefs. So there's no like rule of saying this type of material is what we recommend. It's any material. But I think like Jacqueline said earlier, it's a matter of even if it's 35% protection, it's better than nothing. If you go to the 95 mask, the medical mask, it's a higher percent of protection. But any protection is better than nothing. So I hope that answers the question. We're going to talk more about this conversation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the comparison of COVID-19 to other infectious diseases that we've encountered and overcome in our communities and in society. We're also going to talk about keeping humanity human. But first, I would like Sandra, before we go, to go over some of the points of common sense protection.
So common sense things is make sure you wash your hands. You wash your hands a lot. Make sure you wash your fingertips, that's where you're touching things. You don't touch your face. Try not to touch your face. And you're constantly thinking about your hands and your face. Don't touch your face, anything on your face at all. Wear your mask if you are, in the store or, I carry a mask when I go out on the trail. And for some people, if they're going to pass me nearby, in case they're afraid, I notice if they're wearing a mask. Otherwise, I just try to keep my distance from people. And don't put yourself in crowded places. Those are very, very simple things. And, and you know what, like you say, David, there's times when you do things and then people can be nasty and you don't have control of what other people do. You only have control of your reactions to their behavior. So, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I'm sorry. We can't control everything around us. We only have control of ourselves.
That is very true. I agree with that. And someone commented, and we're going to get to this in the next week or two, about the political side of this. There is a saying, don't let a crisis go to waste. And someone commented to get rid of the Democrats because they create fear. I'm not going to agree or disagree, but we will talk about the political realm of this in coming weeks to come. But I would like to thank Sandra, Jacqueline, all of the frontline healthcare workers that are out there that are leaving their home, their children, their family, to go and put themselves in what we consider harm's way, because we're not medical professionals. We don't know how to go and put all the protective gear and do it safely as they do. But we still honor you and thank you for putting your life, everyone who's frontline, whether you're police, whether you're medical, fire department, whoever you are, that puts yourself in the path of COVID-19. We thank you. And we will look forward to seeing you all next week as we continue the conversation of COVID-19, the health of America.
Thank you, everyone. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye.